taking this seriously, because like the whole manifesto is layered in levels of irony. There are meta messages in there that people like myself understand because we come from this kind of ironic meta culture of the internet, and the mainstream obviously have no fucking idea. But I bet, you know, apparently I heard he was a fucking Navy SEAL commander with 300 confirmed kills from the evening news in Australia or New Zealand. It's fucking unreal how out of touch they are, and how they think that they can just push down internet culture. They think they can just censor it and it'll all go away. No. We are in a new world now. We have to start engaging with things. We have to start actually addressing the points of the opposition. This is why I've gone so hard on communism and socialism. This is why I read all their shit. You know, I had to, like, I've read, what was it? Kropotkin's fucking bread manifesto. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Right? I have to read it because he's got a substantial following on the internet. So I have to know what they think. And literally, it's unbelievably anachronistic. You know, the problem of bread has been solved. Leftist YouTube, you morons. Like, there's not it's over. You know, you need to look forward to new things now, not things that failed repeatedly. Anyway, obviously the blue check marks are being insufferable, and obviously all of the people that you would expect to have come out have come out. I lost the link for it off the top of my head, but I saw a link earlier where Fortnite was being blamed for this because he made a joke about flossing and how Fortnite was radicalizing him with Spyro the Dragon. It's like, and then, I mean, he literally like, no, video games did not do this, and they still fucking report it. You know, we know video games didn't do this. We know that a fucking trip to France radicalized him because he just told us. He just told us outright. Well, I went to France and I saw Muslim immigration and Le Pen's failed. We know why he's done this. He's been crystal clear, but everyone is going to blame it on everything else. As if we can't take this guy's words, the motivations for it sincerely. Why would he fucking lie? Why would he lie about his motivations? Why wouldn't he be sincere? Why can't we take him at face value on the fact that he's like, well, you know what, it's the birth rates, it's the birth rates, it's the birth rates. The three opening words, the three lines that open the manifesto, I mean, I think that we can just take that as read, that is his genuine, like, overriding motivation. But that sparks a whole conversation, doesn't it? And the problem is that sparks a conversation about the damage radical leftism is doing to Western societies, and the fact that people like this are a response to that, whether you like it or not. But hey, radical leftists aren't going to admit that, are they? And instead they're going to be like, oh, it's Gamergate, it's Gamergate. I mean, it's just so unbelievably out of touch. Like, who gives a shit what the alt-right did in Charlottesville? Who gives a shit? I don't care. I don't care if Jews will not replace it. I don't care about any of that. Gamergate had nothing to do with any of this. You know, the problems are widespread across the West. I mean, this guy, like, this is an international English-speaking culture that we're dealing with, right? And so the guy shoots up a mosque in New Zealand in order to trigger a civil war in America over gun rights, because this creates a precedent when the stupid-ass woman, the dhimmi in a fucking hijab, goes and says to the Muslims, oh, I'm so sad, you know, but we're going to ban guns just like the killer wanted. Like, the Americans are going to be looking at this and go, well, hey, so when that happens here, they're just going to come for our guns, as if this doesn't happen enough, as if they're not constantly under siege.
So, in the wake of the Christchurch shooting, there were kind of two layers of context that I had wanted to explore. The first video I made reacting to the mosque shooting was very much so focused upon the audience and focused upon the commentariat, if you want to call them that, of the extreme reactionary internet. Because I feel like too often the first thing people jump to when looking for the radicalization is just the personalities that create the space for this stuff. I think that we need to do more focusing on the commenters inflaming and radicalizing each other, because they do most of their dirty work springboarding off of the talking points of, or even just the atmosphere of the tolerant liberal reactionary. Now, not all liberals are, well, let's just say in the YouTube space, the term liberal applies to reactionary, ostensibly alt-right, which to me, alt-right is a faction of the alt-right. If you examine the rhetorical substance of the early alt-right movement, people who are categorized as alt-right now, Sargon, Alex Jones explicitly went there with like, "Ooh, we're alt-righters." I think Paul Joseph Watson also. The alt-right at one point, when it was subverting MAGA or being enabled by MAGA people, sort of played it quiet on the Jewish question. The Jewish question, what's to be done with Jews, is a Nazi propaganda. And so at one point, the alt-right was ostensibly going to be a form of white supremacy that allowed Jews to be coded as white, right? And they were going to substitute Muslims as the subversive group that needs to be annihilated. So again, at some point, the anti-Semitic grifters created a line of demarcation between themselves and the Israeli nationalist-obsessed Western supremacists, so-called Western supremacists. Even though if you interrogate this idea of Western supremacism, which Molyneux, Lauren Southern, Brittany Pettibone, and Sargon of Akkad subscribe to, you will find when they say Western, they're effectively saying white. They're saying that, and it's so funny, like this stupid bullshit that they attribute to like Western culture. Western culture, John Locke, Adam Smith, stuff like that. That's all. Without Middle Eastern cultures, number one, you wouldn't have shit in the West. The Middle East and Africa had, and Asia, China, which was China today, had these broad and profound civilizational advances, while the Western Anglos and the French and all those fucking people were living in caves. There's a reason that the cradle of civilization is literally located in the Middle East. But the 20th century revision of Western civilization, starting in like the Reagan era through now, is that the third world, the East, is this uncivilized, mongrelized, savage wasteland of peasants and slaves that, the Western culture is, more progressive or more advanced or worthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they think they own stuff like freedom of speech and voting. Democracy somehow belongs to Western civilization, because like they want to paint a picture in your mind. It's all anti-immigrant propaganda, but they want to like build an image of your mind of like an uncivilized, unprepared for civilization person coming from the global South. In America, it's very focused on Central and Latin Americans, and in Europe, it's very much so about disparaging the African continent as a sort of a mill where like starving dogs are going to invade your country and fuck your women. You know what I mean? And again, it's kind of profoundly ignorant because, you know, a lot of the setbacks that you know, for example, a place like Somalia have endured have been because of Western intervention. This is about fig-leafing Western interventionism, which involved neoliberals going into these quote-unquote third world countries and setting them back 10 generations by liberalizing their economy, by imposing brutal austerity and unsustainable debt burdens that enriched the elites in those countries and created mass poverty and literacy and homelessness and all that stuff. So they just, instead, in order to get rid of the truth of Western interventions, you know, the footprints of Western countries raping the rest of the world, they need to go, oh no, well, it's genetics, and those people are not suited to be civilized, they're only good as slaves, and we shouldn't let them run here when we rob all their, you know, resources and they come desperate to our door looking for jobs and water and medicine. So yeah, that's a minor digression. But yeah, Sargon comes back to the same talking points that he always does whenever one of these tragedies occurs, where his ideology, you know, which people, it's so funny, like, at this point, to say that Sargonism is not a philosophical, ideological position that exists at this point on this platform in particular, but like also in other corners of the internet, is to deny basic facts, you know, and reality. So yeah, Sargon is an ideologue, and he is very much so an ideologue for sake of creating a place at the table for fascism as bulldogs of liberalism, you know, conservatism, whatever you want to call it. And this is not different. See, here's the thing with Sargon. This is not different from anything that happened during the Second World War. There's never been a different relationship between liberals and fascists. Mussolini came to power because the existing order used him and his black shirts in order to break labor strikes. And it was also the case in Germany that the Nazis had massive patronage from existing business conglomerates and industrialists that wanted to defend them, to use fascists as a bulwark against left populism, also referred to as communism, socialism. So this thing of Sargon wanting to make the alt-right his stormtroopers, that's very common shit, and that's very normal liberal shit. And I will even go so far as to apply this to liberals that are still seen as the left wing in the United States of America. If you regularly watch any of these MSNBC programs or their guest personalities, you will see them also pulling for their preferred stormtroopers, because these are good government liberals, right? The Sargonites and, you know, the classical liberals, these are limited state liberals, right? Which is enough state to protect my money. But also the MSNBC American liberals, these people are rooting for the deep state to come out of the shadows and you know, save the nation. Which is, again, it's depending on an authoritarian fascist construct to save the liberal institutions. Then it never works, because let's say that Rachel Maddow gets her way and the CIA deposes Trump, right? Who's a piece of shit. Obviously, I don't endorse or support Donald Trump. But if it's done this way, you will end up with a military government in the United States of America that is ostensibly coordinated with these deep state actors. The intelligence community will then supersede democracy, and through authoritarian, it's effectively going to be like a military dictatorship that purports to not have anything but technocratic goals, like the one in Egypt that exploited the vacuum created by the Arab Spring. So yeah, liberals, whether they are liberals that supposedly lean left or liberals that supposedly lean right, they seem to have a very weird relationship with using authoritarian groups to defend liberal democracy. So yeah, Sargon wants to make a seat at the table, because like his message in this video, if you listen to the coding, is that no, we don't need to disabuse these fascist reactionaries. They can be tamed. They can be useful to the cause of preserving liberalism and defending the beautiful hierarchy that has enabled all of the accomplishments of Western civilization. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's exhausting to have to revisit Sargon when he's still banging the drum of Gamergate and how Gamergate was blameless in terms of the politics that it created in this space, on this platform. But I still think it's important to keep an eye on and analyze and interpret Sargon's position, because it's pervasive, number one, and it is a means to power, which is a precursor. It's a necessary precursor to fascist empowerment. Fascists usually are not the first ones in the door. Fascists don't usually win a lot of elections. What generally happens is that the liberal class of the existing order usually abdicate power to fascists in order to defend themselves from leftists. So we need to stop. The number one thing we need to do right now is stop the existing power structure from creating a place of normalization at the dinner table of civilization for fascists.